The next morning, Virelia's skies burned with golden light as the twin suns rose over the gleaming cities. Commander Thalor stood on the bridge of the Aurelius, his gaze fixed on the distant human ships still hovering at the edge of the system. Unlike Virelia's fleet, which was massive and angular, the human vessels glided effortlessly, their surfaces smooth and shining, as though built with both precision and care. "Commander," Captain Leora said, approaching him quietly, "they've begun to descend toward the capital. Sensors show no weapons activation. Their movements are coordinated but calm, almost deliberate." Thalor nodded slowly. "Then this is not an attack. They are choosing to show themselves, to make their presence known." He felt a strange mix of caution and curiosity. After centuries of hearing about humanity, he had never imagined encountering them firsthand. In the capital city below, citizens paused in wonder as glowing human ships descended, lowering slowly to designated landing areas near the central plaza. Unlike Virelia's soldiers, who moved with urgency and a constant sense of command, the humans stepped forward slowly, carefully, as if aware of the eyes watching them. They carried no visible weapons, only tools and devices that hummed with energy. Thalor activated a comm channel to the city. "Attention, all units. Maintain positions. No provocation. Observe only. We are witnessing something extraordinary." As the first human delegation emerged from their ships, the Virelian populace could not hide their amazement. Humans were taller than Virelians, with a unique presence that demanded attention, not through force but through confidence and calm authority. Their leader, Admiral Alara, stepped forward, her gaze sweeping the crowd with quiet respect. "Citizens of Virelia," she said, her voice clear and steady, amplified by portable communication devices. "We come from Earth. We remember a kindness your ancestors received long ago. We have not come to conquer or to demand. We have come to honor that legacy and to offer guidance should you wish to accept it." Whispers rippled through the crowd. Some were skeptical, unsure if these humans were friend or foe. Others were intrigued, sensing an unfamiliar honesty in their words. Thalor felt a surge of relief. No immediate aggression, no hidden weapons revealed. But he also sensed the tension among Virelia's council, many of whom had gathered in the central plaza to witness the arrival. High Counselor Varric stepped forward, his voice sharp and commanding. "Commander Thalor, what is the meaning of this? Are these humans a threat? Should we strike while they are vulnerable?" Thalor shook his head. "Counselor, they are not attacking. Their movements, their words, they show no hostility. I recommend observation and dialogue before any action." Varric's lips pressed tightly together. "Observation is one thing, Commander. Do you wish to appear weak before these strangers? Our fleets could destroy them in hours." "They are not here to fight," Thalor replied firmly. "Strength is not always shown through weapons. Sometimes it is shown through honor and intention. Perhaps we should learn from them before rushing to judgment." Counselor Varric frowned but said nothing, stepping back. The rest of the council exchanged uneasy glances, unsure how to respond. Admiral Alara and her delegation moved carefully through the plaza, setting up a temporary command station. Unlike Virelia's traditional style of dominance and display, the humans demonstrated cooperation. They repaired broken infrastructure, helped lift fallen structures, and restored malfunctioning energy conduits with advanced technology. Citizens and soldiers alike could not help but watch in fascination as humanity's quiet efficiency reshaped parts of the capital in mere hours. Thalor observed this from the Aurelius's observation deck. He noticed something unusual. The humans did not move with haste. Every action was deliberate, precise, and considerate. They seemed to anticipate problems before they occurred, preventing disasters rather than reacting to them. "They are different," he said quietly to Leora. "They do not need to dominate to show strength. They build, they guide, they protect, and yet, I feel the weight of their presence." Leora nodded. "It is not just presence, Commander. It is intent. They are here for a reason, and that reason is not conquest. That makes them stronger than we imagined." Meanwhile, the citizens began to gather around the human workers. Children pointed with excitement, elders whispered in awe, and some young engineers even approached the humans, eager to learn. Thalor noticed the change in the crowd's energy. The initial tension was slowly replaced by curiosity, admiration, and even hope. Amid this, Thalor received a private message from Admiral Alara. The comm device displayed her simple words. Commander Thalor, may we meet? There are truths to share about the past, truths that may affect the future of your planet. He nodded to Leora. Prepare the transport. I will meet her personally. Minutes later, Thalor stood before Admiral Alara in a quiet chamber, away from the eyes of the council and citizens. She was calm, composed, and exuded an aura of authority that did not intimidate. It inspired. Commander Thalor, she began, I understand your people believe that humanity vanished long ago. That is true in a sense. But we never forget those who showed us kindness, no matter how distant or long ago it occurred. Thalor leaned forward. Your fleet is immense, yet you come not with weapons but with aid. Why? Why return after all these centuries? Alara's eyes were steady. Because kindness is never forgotten, Commander. Your ancestors saved lives when famine struck. We owe a debt not of conquest but of memory. We come to remind your people and your leaders that honor and compassion endure even across time and space. Thalor's mind raced. He had studied the human archives, reading fragmented reports of their aid, but he had never imagined it carried such lasting significance. Humanity had acted without expectation, without reward. And now they returned not for gratitude, but to guide Viralia toward a path that combined strength with wisdom. What do you intend to do? He asked cautiously. We wish to cooperate, Alara replied. To share knowledge, technology, and insight. To help your people avoid mistakes that could cost countless lives. But we will not impose. The choice must be yours. Thalor felt a mixture of admiration and apprehension. This was unprecedented. No civilization he knew had ever acted with such foresight and moral clarity. The humans' actions were not just powerful, they were transformative. As he returned to the plaza, Thalor noticed the human workers helping Virelian engineers lift heavy panels. Children gathered to watch, asking questions, learning. Citizens began to murmur among themselves, inspired by what they saw. A simple act of cooperation, without ceremony, without display, was already reshaping the hearts and minds of an entire planet. Later that day, the Virelian Council convened in a private session. Councillor Varric argued for immediate action against the humans, fearing their influence would weaken Virelia's control. Other council members were unsure, torn between pride, fear, and fascination. Thalor stood in the middle, advocating patience and observation. The humans have returned not to conquer, he said firmly. They come to honor a past act of kindness. We can learn from them, or we can destroy what may be the greatest opportunity our civilization has ever had. The choice is ours. Varric's anger simmered, but he could not argue against the evident impact of the humans' presence. Even the council members most loyal to conquest were beginning to question their instincts. As night fell over Viralia, the city shimmered under the twin moons. The human fleet hovered silently above, their lights reflecting off the metallic structures below. Thalor walked among the citizens, observing their curiosity and growing admiration. The humans had arrived not as conquerors, but as a reminder of something far greater, the power of kindness, honor, and memory. Their presence was a silent message that the galaxy itself had room for a force stronger than weapons, the strength of integrity. Thalor knew that the coming days would be pivotal. How Viralia responded to humanity's return would determine the fate of their planet, their culture, and possibly the surrounding systems. He felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. The humans had returned to repay a long-forgotten kindness, but in doing so, they were offering more than repayment. They were offering a chance for Viralia to choose a path of true greatness. And so, under the glow of Virelia's twin moons, the first human delegation worked quietly among the people, reshaping not just the city, but the hearts and minds of all who witnessed them. Commander Thalor watched, realizing that history was not just being observed, it was being rewritten, one act of kindness at a time. The galaxy was about to see that strength was not measured solely in fleets or firepower, but in honor, respect, and remembered kindness. Humanity had arrived, and their presence would leave a mark far greater than anyone could have imagined. The day began with a strange stillness over Viralia. Citizens walked through the streets, their eyes drawn to the human delegation working quietly among them. There was a sense of curiosity in the air, mixed with awe. Commander Thalor stood on the observation deck of the Aurelius, watching the humans move with purpose yet without urgency. Their calm efficiency unsettled some, inspired others, and left Thalor with a growing sense that he was witnessing something extraordinary. A private message came from Admiral Ilara. "Commander Thalor, we request a meeting to share truths long hidden. The past has lessons that may determine your people's future." Thalor nodded. "Prepare a transport, Leora. I will meet them immediately." Moments later, he found himself in a secure human chamber, surrounded by devices he barely understood. Holographic images flickered across the walls, displaying star maps, data streams, and historical records. Admiral Ilara stood calmly before him, her eyes steady. "Commander Thalor," she began, "I wish to show you something important. Long ago, during a famine that threatened your civilization, humans acted quietly to provide aid. Supplies, technology, knowledge, everything we could give. Your people survived because of that act, yet history misremembered the reason. Many believe it was luck or divine intervention. The truth is, it was human kindness." Thalor listened carefully, remembering the ancient archives he had studied as a young officer. Bits and pieces of this story had always fascinated him, but he had never imagined the full scale. He had thought humans were gone, leaving only faded records. Now they were here, offering not only proof but a chance to understand the meaning behind their actions. Ilara continued, her voice calm but firm. "We never forget acts of kindness, Commander. Your ancestors helped us long before they needed to, without expecting anything in return. Humanity remembers, and we honor those deeds no matter how much time has passed. That is why we are here today." Thalor nodded slowly, feeling the weight of her words. "So, you return not for conquest, but to remind us of what we owe, what we should remember. And to guide us, perhaps." Ilara smiled slightly. "Exactly. But guidance comes with a choice. Your council plans expansion, Commander. Aggression. It may bring short-term gains, but it can destroy what your civilization has built. We wish to offer another way, a partnership that strengthens your people without unnecessary war." Thalor frowned. "A partnership? With humans? Many in the council will never accept it. They see strength as dominance, not cooperation." "Strength," Ilara replied, "is not just about power. True strength is about foresight, honor, and understanding the consequences of one's actions. The humans who helped your ancestors understood this. Your people survived because of it. Now you have the opportunity to apply the same principle to the galaxy around you." Thalor thought of the bustling city below, of the citizens watching humans repair infrastructure, teach children, and share knowledge. It was a scene he could not have imagined even in his most careful speculations. Humans did not act with arrogance. They acted with precision, respect, and a quiet authority that commanded admiration. "What exactly are you proposing?" Thalor asked. Ilara gestured to the holographic display. "We can provide advanced technology, strategies for sustainable development, and knowledge that will stabilize neighboring systems without violence. We can help you create a network of alliances, turning potential conflict into cooperation. Your civilization will gain influence not through fear but through respect and innovation." Thalor's mind raced. The council would resist. They were proud, believing that Virelia's place in the galaxy depended on demonstrating power, not wisdom. Yet he could see the potential in what Ilara offered. If he could convince the council to accept even part of this guidance, Virelia could grow stronger than they ever imagined. "And if we refuse?" Thalor asked cautiously. Ilara's eyes were steady. "Then we will not interfere. But we cannot watch mistakes unfold without offering insight. Humans act not to dominate, but to preserve and guide. The choice is yours. Choose wisely, Commander, for the consequences will reach far beyond this planet." Thalor left the chamber with a new sense of purpose. He walked the streets of the capital, observing humans teaching Virelian engineers how to repair damaged energy grids more efficiently, showing children how to calculate safe energy output, and demonstrating techniques that minimized accidents in construction. Everywhere he looked, Virelians were learning, not from force but from example. The council convened later that day in an emergency session. Councillor Varric was furious. "Commander Thalor, are you seriously considering listening to these strangers? Their presence undermines our authority. They will weaken Virelia's position." Thalor stood firm. "Councillor, they are not here to weaken us. They are here to remind us of a principle long forgotten, that kindness is remembered and the consequences of our actions echo through time. They offer knowledge and guidance, not subjugation. I believe we should listen. Another council member, Councillor Mael, spoke up. Commander Thalor may be right. Look at the city. Citizens are responding positively. The humans have done no harm, yet their actions inspire trust and admiration. Perhaps there is more to their return than fear or suspicion. Varric slammed his fist on the table. Trust, admiration? This is not a negotiation, it is weakness. We must strike first or we will appear vulnerable. Thalor shook his head. No, Varric. Appearing weak is far less dangerous than ignoring wisdom. Humans have shown us an alternative path. We can either learn and grow, or insist on domination and risk everything. As the council debated, Thalor received another message from Admiral Ilara. Commander, the humans wish to meet with Virelia's citizens tomorrow. They will demonstrate the potential of cooperation and shared knowledge. Be present. The following day, a large crowd gathered in the central plaza. Humans had set up stations demonstrating technology, construction techniques, and medical tools. Children were taught how to use simple machines. Engineers learned new ways to stabilize energy grids, and ordinary citizens marveled at the precision and care with which the humans worked. Thalor watched as citizens interacted with the humans, their skepticism slowly giving way to fascination. Elder scholars approached, asking questions about energy stabilization, trade logistics, and planetary management. Even soldiers observed carefully, noting how the humans minimized risk and optimized efficiency. This is remarkable, Thalor whispered to Leora. They do not lead by force. They lead by example, and it changes everything. Leora nodded. The council may resist, but the people are watching. Change does not come from fear, it comes from inspiration. The humans understand this. By evening, the citizens were inspired, some even advocating to the council for dialogue and cooperation with the humans. Thalor felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. The humans had returned to honor a past kindness, but their presence was already reshaping the future of Virelia. He thought back to the archives, to the ancient famine and the aid that had saved countless lives. Humanity had acted with no expectation, giving freely. Now, centuries later, they had returned, not for gratitude, but to show the strength of memory, respect, and honor. Thalor realized that history was no longer just a record of the past. It was an active force, guiding decisions in the present. Virelia had a choice, to continue a path of aggression or to embrace the wisdom offered by humanity. The decision would shape the planet, the council, and the lives of every citizen. As the twin moons rose over the city, Thalor watched humans and Virelians working side by side. He understood something profound. The galaxy was not only influenced by weapons or fleets, but by actions that reflected character and principle. Humanity's return was proof that kindness remembered could change civilizations. The next phase would be critical. Thalor knew the council would debate, resist, and perhaps even attempt to undermine the humans. But the citizens had seen the possibilities, and some had begun to question the old ways of dominance and fear. Ilara's message echoed in his mind. The choice is yours. Choose wisely. And Thalor knew that Virelia's future, perhaps even the balance of power in the surrounding systems, would depend on the wisdom of its leaders. Humanity had returned not as conquerors, but as reminders of something far greater: the power of honor, memory, and the enduring impact of kindness. For the first time in centuries, Commander Thalor felt hope, not just for his planet, but for the galaxy itself. And he knew that the coming days would test everything his civilization believed about strength, loyalty, and morality. The human's presence was a challenge, but also a gift, a chance for Virelia to learn, grow, and redefine what it truly meant to be powerful. Under the twin moons of Virelia, the city gleamed with possibility. The humans had returned to honor a past act of kindness, but in doing so, they had already begun to reshape the future. And Thalor understood that this was only the beginning of a story that would ripple across planets and generations, proving that kindness, once given, can shape the destiny of entire worlds. The next morning, Virelia's twin suns rose over a city buzzing with energy and anticipation. Commander Thalor stood on the observation deck of the Aurelius, watching the fleet prepare for its mission. The Council had finally authorized a move toward the neighboring system of Zareth, a planet rich in resources and strategically important. Soldiers and officers moved with precision, confident in their technology and strength. Yet Thalor felt a knot of unease in his stomach. Humanity's presence still hovered at the edge of the system, silent but unmistakable. Their calm confidence was a reminder that strength was not only measured in fleets and weapons, but also in strategy, wisdom, and moral clarity. Captain Leora approached him. "Commander, the humans have requested a meeting before we proceed. They wish to discuss the operation and its consequences." Thalor shook his head. "We can't let the Council delay the mission further, but I want to hear them first. Let's see what they have to say." Minutes later, Thalor met Admiral Ilara in a secure communication chamber. She appeared calm, her eyes steady as she outlined what she had seen from their observation. "Commander, the fleet you plan to send to Zareth will achieve short-term gains, but at great cost. The inhabitants are technologically primitive but not defenseless. Casualties will be high, infrastructure will be destroyed, and the long-term stability of the system will collapse. There is another way," Thalor frowned. "And that is?" Ilara gestured to a holographic display. "We can guide your fleet to work with the Zarethi, not against them. Using strategy, diplomacy, and our technology, you can secure their cooperation without violence. Resources can be shared, alliances formed, and your civilization's influence will grow not through fear, but through respect." Thalor thought of the citizens he had seen yesterday, learning from humans, watching them act with purpose and care. He realized that their method worked not through intimidation, but through inspiration. He nodded slowly. "And if the Council refuses to listen?" Ilara's gaze was unwavering. "Then we will act to prevent unnecessary destruction. Not to dominate, but to guide. Commander, your choices matter. Your people's actions will echo across the galaxy. Choose wisely." The Council convened shortly after, unaware that Thalor had spoken with the humans. Councillor Varric, infuriated by the delay, demanded immediate action. "Commander Thalor, why have we not launched? Our fleets await orders." Thalor stood, his voice firm. "Councillors, I have observed the humans. They are not here to conquer, but to demonstrate the power of strategic, thoughtful action. I request we consider their advice before sending the fleet to Zareth." A murmur passed through the chamber. Varric's face reddened. "You would allow these strangers to dictate our actions? Our strength is unmatched. We do not need guidance." Thalor shook his head. "Strength is not only in numbers or weapons, it is in wisdom, foresight, and honor. The humans have shown us another path, a path that prevents unnecessary loss and creates allies rather than enemies." After tense debate, the Council reluctantly agreed to allow Thalor to lead a portion of the fleet under human guidance. It was a compromise, but one that Thalor accepted with determination. The fleet moved toward Zareth, their movements precise yet cautious. Thalor coordinated with Admiral Ilara via holographic communication. She provided insights on negotiation strategies, energy management, and resource allocation. Every step of the way, humans guided without interfering, ensuring the fleet acted decisively while minimizing conflict. Upon entering Zareth's system, sensors detected unusual activity. The inhabitants had noticed the approaching Varelian ships and their defense mechanisms activated. But instead of launching an immediate attack, Thalor followed Ilara's instructions. Using human-guided tactics, they deployed communication arrays to broadcast messages of peace and cooperation. "Virelia comes not to conquer," Thalor transmitted. "We come to offer partnership, assistance, and trade. We wish to work together for mutual benefit." The Zarethi response was cautious but receptive. Over the next few hours, Thalor led teams that landed on key locations to demonstrate technology, repair infrastructure, and assist with agricultural systems. The Zarethi were initially wary, but the humans' influence was clear. Every action was measured, precise, and beneficial. Thalor watched as soldiers and engineers worked side by side with the inhabitants, learning to trust and communicate. The operation, guided by human insight, was a demonstration of strength through cooperation. Captain Leora approached him. "Commander, look at the difference. They are not just surviving, they are thriving. The humans are reshaping their perception of us." Thalor nodded. "It is remarkable. Our fleet's purpose is fulfilled not through conquest but through understanding and collaboration." Yet not all were pleased. Some council members back on Virelia viewed the operation as a failure of authority. They had expected immediate domination, not negotiation. Councillor Varric fumed as reports reached the capital. Minimal resistance, high efficiency, and Zareth's willingness to cooperate. This is unacceptable, Varric snapped.
Commander Thalor, you allowed humans to undermine our authority.
Thalor stood calmly. No, Counselor. We achieved our goal without unnecessary loss of life. We gained allies rather than enemies. That is true strength. Meanwhile, Admiral Ilara communicated privately with Thalor. Commander, you have made a wise choice. The Zarethi respect your decision and are willing to enter trade agreements, share resources, and maintain peace. Your actions today prove that leadership guided by wisdom and honor is stronger than domination alone. Thalor felt a deep sense of satisfaction. He realized that the humans' guidance had not only prevented conflict, but had strengthened Virelia's position in the galaxy, far more than conquest ever could. Later, back on the Aurelius, Thalor addressed his officers. Today we learned an important lesson. Power alone is not enough. Strategy, wisdom, and respect can accomplish what force cannot. Humanity has reminded us that kindness, honor, and careful action carry strength beyond what we imagined. The officers nodded, understanding the significance of the day. Some still struggled with the new approach, but even the most skeptical could not deny the results. That night, Thalor walked among the Zarethi citizens who had gathered to thank the Virelian fleet. Children ran alongside soldiers. Elders shook hands with engineers, and farmers marveled at the new tools and techniques. Humanity's influence was visible everywhere, not through fear but through trust, cooperation, and shared purpose. Thalor stood quietly, watching the scene unfold. He knew the Council would debate these events, perhaps even resist fully embracing the lessons learned, but he also knew that a shift had begun. The galaxy had seen a demonstration of what true strength could be. Admiral Ilara's voice echoed in his mind. Commander, your choices today echo far beyond this system. Humanity honors kindness, and its consequences shape worlds. You have made a choice that will resonate across generations. Thalor looked to the stars, feeling a sense of hope he had never known. The humans had returned not as conquerors, but as teachers and guides. Their influence had prevented unnecessary war and reshaped the future of two civilizations. The night sky above Zareth was calm, stars shimmering like distant promises. Thalor knew that more challenges would come, that some would resist, and that the Council might never fully understand the depth of what had occurred. Yet the results were undeniable. Virelia had grown stronger not through force but through wisdom and honor. As the twin moons of Virelia rose over the horizon, Thalor felt a deep sense of purpose. Humanity's return had been a test, not of weapons or fleets, but of character. And Virelia had passed, guided by a leader willing to embrace a new form of strength. In the quiet of the night, Thalor made a vow. He would continue to follow the humans' guidance, ensuring that Virelia's future was shaped by honor, respect, and remembered kindness. The galaxy had witnessed a demonstration of power unlike any other, proof that true strength was found in integrity, cooperation, and the wisdom to choose the right path, and so, the first great test was complete. Humanity had shown that even in a galaxy filled with ambition, pride, and power, kindness and guidance could shape outcomes far greater than domination. Virelia had learned the lesson, and Commander Thalor knew that the coming days would solidify a new path for his civilization, one that could change the balance of the galaxy forever. The first rays of Virelia's twin sun stretched across the capital city, casting long golden shadows on gleaming towers. Commander Thalor stood on the observation deck of the Aurelius, watching both the city and the human fleet preparing for a series of collaborative missions. There was a sense of quiet anticipation in the air. For the first time in generations, Virelia's future felt uncertain, but hopeful in a way that stirred excitement instead of fear. The events of the past week had shifted the balance of perception across the planet. Citizens had seen the humans act with precision, care, and wisdom. Soldiers had witnessed strategies that minimized conflict and maximized cooperation. Even skeptics in the Council had begun to recognize that Virelia's traditional methods of domination were not the only path to power. Thalor's communicator beeped. It was Admiral Ilara. Commander Thalor, the humans are ready to meet with the Council today. We hope to solidify plans for a lasting partnership and ensure your leaders understand the benefits of cooperation. Thalor nodded. Understood. Prepare a detailed presentation for the Council. I want them to see the full scope of what we can achieve together. As the Council convened, tension filled the chamber. Counselor Varric's jaw was tight, clearly irritated by the ongoing influence of the humans. "Commander Thalor," he said sharply, "this meeting is unnecessary. We know the humans' methods are slow. We should act decisively and expand our influence while we can." Thalor held his ground. "Counselor Varric, what the humans demonstrate is not slow. It is deliberate, precise, and effective. Their methods minimize loss and maximize results. If we embrace their guidance, we can strengthen our civilization in ways that conquest alone cannot achieve." Counselor Mael, who had grown increasingly supportive of Thalor's approach, added, "Commander is right. We have seen the results on Zareth. There were no casualties. The inhabitants cooperated and we secured resources and alliances. Can we honestly say our traditional methods would have achieved the same?" Varric's face reddened. "We risk appearing weak. Strength demands action, not negotiation." Thalor responded firmly. "Strength also demands wisdom, foresight, and honor. If we ignore guidance that ensures long-term stability, we risk far more than temporary appearances. Humanity has returned not to dominate, but to remind us of what true power looks like." The chamber fell silent as Admiral Alara appeared via holographic projection. Her calm presence commanded attention. "Counselors of Aurelia," she began, "we come not to dictate but to offer insight. Acts of kindness, respect, and thoughtful decision-making carry consequences that echo across generations. Your civilization survived centuries ago because of a single act of compassion. Now you have a choice: continue a path of domination, or embrace a path of cooperation that strengthens every planet you touch." The council members exchanged glances. Varric's hands clenched at his sides, but even he could not ignore the truth in Alara's words. The citizens had already seen the results firsthand, and resistance now felt increasingly futile. Thalor stepped forward. "Counselors, the choice before us is clear. We can continue using fear to assert power, or we can embrace the lessons humans demonstrate: collaboration, guidance, and strategic wisdom. The galaxy respects those who act with honor, not just strength. Let us be that civilization." One by one, the council members began to nod. Even Varric, though reluctant, recognized that continued resistance would isolate Virelia. With a final sigh, he said, "Very well. We will follow this path of cooperation, though it challenges our traditions." Ilara's projection brightened with a warm smile. "Excellent. This is the first step toward a lasting alliance, Commander Thalor. Your leadership ensures that Virelia can achieve more than dominance ever could." With the Council's agreement, Virelia began a new era. Human and Virelian engineers worked side by side to improve infrastructure, energy systems, and communications. Military leaders collaborated to design strategies that minimized risk and built alliances across neighboring systems. Scholars and children eagerly absorbed knowledge, inspired by humans who taught through example rather than command. Thalor walked among the citizens one evening, observing the subtle but profound changes taking place. Markets were more vibrant, schools were bustling with curious students, and communities were thriving as new technologies and ideas spread. The humans had not only provided guidance, they had instilled a sense of purpose and vision in the people. "Commander," Captain Leora said, joining him quietly, "look at what they've accomplished. They didn't take control. They didn't demand. They simply showed the possibilities and people chose to follow." Thalor nodded, a sense of pride swelling in his chest. "It's remarkable, isn't it? Power used for guidance rather than fear. Kindness remembered across centuries. That is true strength." In the following weeks, Virelia extended diplomatic missions to other systems, guided by humans and inspired by their principles. Neighboring planets, once wary of Virelia's expansionist tendencies, began to cooperate willingly. Trade agreements, scientific collaborations, and cultural exchanges flourished, all under the influence of the humans' quiet guidance. On Zareth, citizens now worked alongside Virelians, sharing resources and knowledge. Virelia's fleet patrolled the system not as conquerors but as protectors, ensuring stability and fostering trust. Reports from across the galaxy praised the Virelian approach, a stark contrast to the fear-based methods of previous generations. One evening, Thalor received a personal message from Admiral Alara. "Commander, your people have embraced the principles of cooperation and honor. The galaxy will watch Virelia as an example. You have proven that remembered kindness can reshape civilizations, and that strength guided by wisdom is unmatched. Well done. Thaler smiled, reflecting on how far they had come. The humans had returned to honor a centuries-old act of compassion, yet in doing so, they had given Virelia more than guidance. They had given them a future. As the twin moons rose over the city, casting silver light across streets and towers, Thaler realized that the galaxy itself had shifted. Humanity had returned not with weapons but with principles, showing that actions rooted in respect, foresight, and integrity could ripple across worlds. Even Counselor Varric, once a staunch advocate of domination, had begun to see the value in collaboration. The Council's debates now focused on how to implement sustainable growth, trade, and alliances rather than conquest. Virelia was evolving, not just technologically but morally and strategically. The citizens of Virelia had learned an equally valuable lesson. Acts of kindness and cooperation were not weaknesses. They were strengths that could shape systems, inspire loyalty, and create stability across planets. Humanity's return was a reminder that the past, when honored and understood, could illuminate the future. In the weeks that followed, the humans and Virelians continued to work together, their combined efforts producing results beyond expectation. Cities thrived, economies grew, and conflicts that once seemed inevitable were avoided through careful diplomacy and strategic collaboration. Taylor watched this transformation with quiet satisfaction, knowing that Virelia had embraced a path that would secure lasting influence and stability across the galaxy. Finally, on a calm evening, Thalor stood on the observation deck, looking at the stars stretching endlessly before him. The human fleet hovered peacefully, a silent testament to the strength found not in domination, but in honor and guidance. Admiral Alara's voice came through his calm. Commander Thalor, remember this. History remembers actions, not words. Your people chose wisely. They embraced cooperation, honored a past kindness, and reshaped the future. Virelia will be stronger for it, and the galaxy will remember that humanity's return was more than a gesture. It was a turning point. Thalor took a deep breath, gazing at the horizon where planets and stars twinkled with possibilities. Yes, he replied softly. We have learned that kindness remembered can change worlds. That is the true measure of strength. The twin moons rose high, illuminating the city and the fleet. Virelia had stepped into a new era, one of wisdom, honor, and cooperation. Humanity had returned to repay a long-forgotten kindness, and in doing so, had not only saved lives centuries ago, but had also reshaped the destiny of an entire civilization. As the night sky stretched infinitely above, Thalor understood the profound truth. The galaxy was forever changed by the choices made today. Guided by lessons of the past and inspired by the timeless principle that mankind never forgets a kindness. And so, Virelia looked to the future with hope, guided by wisdom, strengthened by honor, and united in the knowledge that even the smallest act of kindness could echo across time and space to reshape worlds. Humanity had returned, and their influence promised a new dawn for the galaxy, a dawn built on respect, collaboration, and remembered goodness. The sky over Earth had never looked so strange. On a clear morning, millions of people looked up and froze. At first, they thought it was a trick of the sun, a strange reflection. But as the light faded, the truth became impossible to ignore. Massive ships hung silently in orbit, shapes unlike anything human eyes had ever seen. Some were smooth and metallic, glinting in sunlight. Others were dark and jagged, yet all moved with a strange, deliberate grace. Airports were filled with confused travelers. Cities were in chaos. News stations broadcast non-stop, their anchors shaking as they tried to describe the unimaginable sight. Governments scrambled to respond, armies went on high alert, and scientists ran simulations faster than ever before. No one could say where the ships had come from, how fast they traveled, or why they had come now. On the ground, ordinary people were terrified. Parents held their children close. Drivers stopped on highways, staring at the sky. Soldiers pointed rifles upward, but they knew their weapons were meaningless against beings that could travel across stars. Across Earth, the feeling was the same. Humanity was small, fragile, and utterly uncertain of its future. At the United Nations, the world's leaders gathered for an emergency session. They spoke quickly, their voices tense, discussing evacuation plans, defenses, and communication attempts. But deep down, everyone knew the truth. These ships were not ordinary. Whoever was aboard them was far beyond human technology. Meanwhile, a team of scientists in Geneva tried something daring. They had been working on deep space communication systems, hoping to one day reach intelligent life. Now that hope became a desperate need. Dr. Elena Torres, a leading expert in quantum communications, tapped at her console with steady hands, sending out a simple message: "We come in peace." Hours passed with no reply. Tensions on Earth rose as people feared that the silence meant aggression. Cities prepared for attacks and rumors spread like wildfire. Some said the aliens would destroy major cities first. Others whispered that humanity would be enslaved. Then, just when despair seemed strongest, a response came. Not in words humans could understand, but in a display across the skies. Lights moved in patterns so complex they almost felt alive. And then voices, calm, clear, and unmistakable, resonated inside the heads of everyone who looked up. "Humans," the voice said. "We have watched you. We have seen your wars, your triumphs, your kindness, and your cruelty. We have judged your species. We will spare you for now, but your survival depends on your choice." The world froze. The words were simple, but their meaning was enormous. These beings, the humans later called the Elari, had the power to destroy the planet in an instant. And yet they chose mercy. But there was a condition. Humanity would have to prove its worth. The test was not yet clear, but the message was enough to send governments and scientists into overdrive. Humanity had a chance, but it would not be easy. Dr. Torres and her team were among the first to step forward. She understood that this was not about weapons or politics. The Elari were looking for something deeper: unity, compassion, and the ability to rise above fear. She spoke at a global broadcast, urging people to cooperate and set aside old rivalries. "This is not just about survival," she said. "This is about proving who we are. Every choice we make matters." Not everyone listened. Some nations hoarded resources, preparing for war. Some corporations tried to exploit the situation, seeking profit from fear. But ordinary humans, teachers, engineers, farmers, and workers, began to show what Dr. Torres had meant. Volunteers helped organize emergency shelters, shared food and medical supplies, and comforted those terrified by the unknown visitors in the sky. In the midst of this tension, a small team of young engineers in Nairobi worked on an ambitious project. They wanted to create a message the Elari could understand, something beyond words, a demonstration of human creativity, cooperation, and hope. For days they worked without sleep, combining mathematics, music, and art into a signal sent across space. When the transmission finally left Earth, the engineers watched silently, hearts pounding. The response was immediate. A shimmering light appeared near the signal source, and a single Elari ship descended toward Earth, landing in a vast desert. Military forces were tense, ready for combat. But when the craft opened, it was not a weapon that emerged. It was a being unlike anything humans had imagined. It was tall, with limbs that moved fluidly, its skin reflecting the sun like liquid silver. Its eyes, deep and bright, seemed to look directly into the hearts of those who dared to meet its gaze. The being spoke, its voice gentle but powerful. "You have shown initiative," it said. "But initiative alone is not enough. You must demonstrate that your compassion can extend beyond your species, that your unity can overcome fear. Only then will we consider you worthy of the life you cling to so fiercely." A silence followed. Humanity realized that the test had begun, though no one yet knew its full nature. The Elari did not speak of war or weapons. They spoke of values, of qualities that could not be measured by guns or shields. Across Earth, reactions varied. Some were inspired. Communities came together, organizing efforts to reduce conflict, help the vulnerable, and work toward common goals. Others remained skeptical or hostile, fearing that cooperation was a trap. Dr. Torres understood that this was the first step in a long journey. She gathered a group of leaders, scientists, and volunteers from different countries. Together, they began to plan how humanity could meet the Elari's challenge. It would not be simple. There were cultural barriers, old rivalries, and countless human flaws to overcome. But there was also potential, an energy, a creativity, and a courage that the Elari had recognized in humans long before they arrived. For many nights, people all over Earth watched the stars, wondering what the next step would be. Children asked their parents if the aliens were monsters. Soldiers questioned their orders. Politicians debated strategies. And still the world waited, holding its breath for the mercy that had been granted, and the challenge that lay ahead. In one small town, a boy named Amir looked up at the sky and whispered, "We can do this. We have to." His voice was small, almost lost in the vastness of the universe, but it carried a truth that echoed across Earth. Survival was not just about power, it was about heart. And somewhere far above, the Elari watched. Their great eyes scanned the planet, noting every act of kindness, every act of fear, and every attempt to reach out beyond oneself. Humanity had been spared once, but now the real test had begun. Could humans rise to the expectations of a species far beyond their own? Could they prove that their mercy and courage were as strong as their fear and aggression? The first part of humanity's journey had begun, not with battles or weapons, but with choices. Small acts of compassion, teamwork, and courage would ripple across Earth, shaping the path of the planet's future. The Aelari had given them a chance, a single moment to show what humans could truly be. And for the first time, the world felt both fragile and full of hope, knowing that their survival depended not on luck, but on the best parts of themselves. As the sun set behind the alien ships, casting long shadows over Earth, humanity faced its greatest challenge yet. The world had been spared once, but the question remained: would humanity honor that mercy, or squander it in fear and division? The answer would shape not just the fate of Earth, but the way the stars remembered humanity forever.